Stoicism offers profound insight into how we can live life with clarity, resilience, and really true peace. I started reading the Stoics many years ago, like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, but there are 10 lessons that stood out to me, and I want to share that with you. Lesson number 6, perspective on loneliness and success. I live in New York City. My area is very densely populated. You walk out the door and life hits you in the face. I love it. But we very often have that FOMO and we like the distraction. Sometimes people just like to do things so they don't be by themselves, which is a self-destructing behavior, but that is how they deal with life, like workaholics, hobbyholics, and all that. Constantly go, go. Stoicism teaches us that solitude is essential for growth and self-reflection. Think about it. If you are not alone, if you don't have moments that you sit alone with yourself and reflect, how can you see the things that you're doing and where you need to be going, how you can see in the areas which you want to grow? But very often, people are just distracted. They're so uncomfortable facing their own emotions, but you cannot grow if you don't sit and reflect. It doesn't mean you'll be lonely. It's not about loneliness. You can be in the most densely populated area, in the biggest restaurant around with so many friends, and still be lonely. For me, solitude, it's a must. Sometimes I take a day and I drive out of New York City. I love driving alone because there's so many ideas that come into my mind. And then I go to this town called Cold Springs that I love. It's close to New York City and I just love the vibe. And I go for a short hike and then I come back. I need to recharge. I need to sit on my own, or I sit at home. No matter how you do it, no matter how you're comfortable with, start small, but embracing the power of solitude, not as loneliness, but as an opportunity for introspection. And believe me, yes, you will be uncomfortable. You will discover things you don't like about yourself. You will have a difficult emotions, but guess what? You're gonna be okay. Trust yourself. You might shed few tears, and so what? So what? So the Stoics would say this: true success is not found in the external achievements, but in internal growth and peace of mind. External success may come and go, but the inner success of living an aligned life with your values is lasting and fulfilling. You carry you everywhere you go. No matter your zip code, what apartment, what town, what country, you carry you with you. And no matter where you go, if you don't feel good about yourself, you will not feel better. That is why it's very important to look inside and embrace our shadows, our flaws, and reparent that inner child. So ultimately we can feel inner peace. Most of the times, I feel content with life, 99% of the time. And this comes from someone who was with self-sabotaging, self-destructing behavior. I was on the go, constantly avoiding to sit with myself. Self-reflection, what? Never was able to do that. I was never able to sit and journal and all that. And I had panic attack, went to the emergency room, and my life changed after that. I might do another video on the whole journey that I went through, but it's a long journey, and that was 13 years ago. And I honestly can say I feel content with life 99% of the time. And I feel this inner peace, and anything and anyone that is disrupting that, or I let go, or I look inside and try to accept that part of me. So embrace solitude to understand yourself better and redefine success in terms of inner peace rather than external validation. Lesson number 7, handling criticism and praise. Criticism and praise are inevitable part of life. But what Stoicism teaches us not to be swayed by one or the other, Buddhism teaches us the same thing, not to be too happy, because then we go too unhappy, to be somewhere in the perfect middle. And that doesn't mean without emotions, but praise can inflate our ego, and then criticism can deflate it. They're temporary, both are external. What if no one praises you after? What's gonna happen? You win an award or something happen and no one praises you. What will happen? Your mood will change. Or someone criticizes you. Very often it's about them. It's not about you. But then you will be scared of criticism. You're gonna take it personal, and that will affect your self-worth and the way you see yourself. Instead of seeking that external validation from others, cultivate the mindset where you value your own judgment over the opinions of others. When you receive praise, acknowledge it with humility and move on. When criticized, learn from it without internalizing it. See if there's some truth to that, and if not, let it go. Your self-worth is not defined by external opinions, but only by your own actions and integrity. So learn to rise above both praise and criticism, using them as tools for reflection, not as a source of validation. Lesson number 8, independence and motivation. Stoicism encourages us to cultivate independence, not only in our actions, but also in our thoughts. So true motivation comes from within. I was trying to teach that my son for such a long time, and it takes a long time actually, but it does work. Now he tells me when I tell him to do something or to leave his phone out of the room, he's almost 16, before bed, he tells me, I want to learn to self-regulate. I want to learn to be able to watch a little on the phone at night, shut it down, leave it in my room, and not look at it. Because when I go to college, you're not going to be there. Same with his alarm clock. He's, don't wake me up. I want to learn to wake up on my own. And few times he didn't wake up. He was late for school. And then he suffered his own natural consequences. And he started changing and learning. It is a process. It's not for the faint of heart. If you're a perfectionist, it's very difficult. I'm not perfectionist, so I don't expect him to be perfect. So it's fine. But this is how you cultivate internal motivation. Otherwise, it's the carrot and the stick analogy. If you don't live in the States, this is very popular analogy where the boss give you bonuses and so on. That's the carrot, and the stick is the criticism, and you're going to be punished or consequences if you don't do that thing. So it is external. It's not self-motivation, like I want to do my job to the best of my ability because my value is to show up in the world and give my best. Relying on that external sources for motivation can lead to codependencies. We have to learn to have that independence inside of us. And independence means that we take responsibility for our own growth and our own mistakes and our own drive from within. So when we align our actions with our values and our purpose, that is when motivation comes natural and sustaining. So it's like going to the gym. You're not going to be motivated every day, but I tell myself, you know what? I'm going to show up at the gym. Even if I don't do this whole thing with the weights and that, I'll be on the treadmill listening to a podcast, but I'm going to show up. That's it. So to be truly motivated internally, it has to be grounded in your own principles, your own values, not external circumstances. Lesson number 9, attitude towards challenges. Challenges. Who doesn't have challenges? Challenges are part of life. And it's so important the perspective we see them through. Stoicism sees challenges as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles. So every challenge that we face strengthens our character and builds our resilience, because when we fail or face a challenge and we overcome it, we start viewing ourselves very differently. But if we don't have challenges, if we avoid them, if we get discouraged, from having challenged or failed and we don't try again, we're going to start looking ourselves very differently. And that ultimately will change our character and the way we see ourselves and the way we love ourselves. And it will change our actions. So instead of resenting these difficulties, learn to embrace them with gratitude. Say thank you for the challenge or thank you for that failure. Thank you for the lesson you learned. And always look for the lesson from a breakup, from a person you had interaction, from a friend that you failed with, or a job or something that it didn't work out. Look for the lesson and be grateful. Very often challenges, they test our strength and our ability to stay true to our values. Because many times people stray from their values when they face challenges. They start lying, cheating, stealing, and all that. I'll read you a short quote from Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. So by changing your perspective on challenges, you can transform struggle into stepping stones towards a stronger and more resilient you. Lesson number 10, mistakes and life. Don't we all love mistakes? We most certainly were not praised for our mistakes. That reminds me of the founder of Spanx. She was saying that her father, when they had dinner, always asked them, how did you fail today? And I started doing that at home when my son was little. And I always ask him after school, like, how did you fail? What mistakes did you do? It was this fun thing that he'll come and be like, oh my gosh, mom, I failed. Listen to this mistake that I did, or this is how I failed. And it was such a nice experience to hear him say that. And I'll ask him, like, what did you learn from it? And even I remember when he did something in school, I'll make him write an essay. I think that was the biggest punishment, to write an essay. But I'll make him write an essay, and starting with what I did wrong, what were my intentions, how did I fail, and what did I learn from that mistake, and how would I do differently next time. And so now that he's older, I think the last time I did that was when he was 13. He's, Mama, please, I don't want to write another essay, but I'll tell you, this is what I did. My intention actually was that, but this is what happened. I really learned this lesson, and this is how I'm going to do differently next time. But I think with us would be the same. We beat ourselves up so much when we do mistakes. And I think very often it's, oh, I wish I did differently, because the outcome would have been something that I would have really liked, or I saw myself with that outcome would have made me really happy. I think that's why, for me at least, when I do a mistake, I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't say that thing, or I wish I didn't do that thing, because the outcome would have been different and I would have liked that. And so I had to work hard towards detaching from the outcome. And now I acknowledge I said that thing. I'm going to apologize to that person. I was wrong for saying it. But no matter what the outcome, I know it's working for my highest good, and whatever it's meant to be will be. Whatever leaves my life, it's meant to leave my life. Whatever it's meant to stay in my life will stay in my life. And I truly actually believe that there are no coincidences. Everything is aligned just perfectly the way it's supposed to happen. So mistakes are part of life, and rather than seeing them as pure failure, let's see them as opportunities to learn and grow. Every mistake carries a lesson, and wisdom comes from reflecting on these lessons and striving to do better. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Be compassionate to yourself, and instead embrace them with the knowledge that they are essential to your growth and to your journey. Just like I mentioned before, Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, and something in the past we cannot, but we can learn from it and do it differently next time. So learn from them, adapt, and move forward with a stronger sense of purpose. These are the 10 lessons that stood out for me. If that's the beginning of your journey with Stoicism, the more you practice these lessons, the more they'll transform your life. And always remember, the most important relationship you have is the one you have with yourself. I'll see you next time. Ciao.